and then it'll pick right back up. But I just wanted to come back out here and show you this very dangerous situation happening out here. Luckily, we are protected again by a concrete barrier wall, but we have this vantage point to show us all the devastation kind of happening before our eyes as these trees just get knocked over and are picked back up against some of them and are flying down roads. And we saw that happening as well. And then not to mention that here on the Biscayne Bay, that water is now being pushed onto the road. So you have flooding, the potential problem for flooding in this neighborhood as well. Again, we are in Midtown, right on the bay, and looking at all the winds and how it's really damaging these trees and creating a lot of projectile objects out here. But we'll send it back to you guys.
And Omar, how's the bay behaving? You talked about that when last we met.
And so, you know, actually, it's a good point that you bring that up, is we were over actually closer to the bay for our first couple live shots and started realizing that the water is lapping onto the land. And so we see this water happening and we're like, oh, you know what? We might need to get out of this location before we're overcome by the water. So we moved and got into this parking deck here, and that's where we've been located. I haven't gone back over to where that bay is because of the fact that once we saw it start happening so rapidly, we got out of there. We're now on the fourth story of this parking deck, and this is now our vantage point. So I can only imagine that things getting worse with time as the storm continues to get more powerful and get closer to our way.
Sounds like a good decision made by you and your crew. Omar Lewis, thanks so much in Miami's Midtown section with the latest from there.
Let's send things back over to Phil Barrow to bring us up to speed on what's happening. And I think you're going to check in with the National Hurricane Center, Phil?
Yes, indeed, an extremely dangerous event taking place down across the lower Florida Keys. They're getting hit really hard. The landfall should be at any moment now. Let's go check in with the National Hurricane Center live with Dr. Michael Brennan. Good morning, Michael. This is no. Okay, not a problem. He'll be ready with us here in just a moment. So we will update what's going on. The system getting ready to make landfall. It was just a few miles offshore of the lower Florida Keys. The folks down at the local office of the National Weather Service there saying that this is going to be potentially catastrophic. They've been urging anyone who's down there to make sure you're in an upstairs room, a small, safe room. We'll put a mattress over you. This is going to be rough going for a couple hours. For us across the mainland, the Miami-Dade, Broward counties, wind, rain, and gusty winds, and of course that storm surge moving in up and down the coast. This is still a huge system, and this is a great example why, even though we've been out of the cone here for at least a good 24 hours. This is a great example of why, even though you may not be in that cone of concern, these systems are huge. The cone of concern is just figuring out where the eye is going to be. And as you can see, the eye is right over the lower Keys, and yet there is a cloudiness, rain, and gusty winds for a good 200 miles away from the center of circulation, and that's what is impacting us. The latest advisory as of 8 a.m., 130 mile per hour winds moving to the north-northwest at 8 miles per hour. At 8 a.m. is about 20 miles east-southeast of Key West, Florida. Here is the radar, and that eye wall just devastating. That is that ring of destruction spinning in right across a 7-mile bridge from Marathon all the way down into Big Pine Key, making its way out into Doctor's Arm, swinging back in across Big Coppic, No Name Key, getting hit really bad, Stock Island. Things are going to improve here rather quickly across Cudjoe, Perky Key. This is the eye now, getting ready to move in across Cudjoe. Things are going to go quiet. Please do not get fooled. Do not go outside and think this is over. It is not. This is just a brief pause, and then you're going to get the backside of the eye, which can be equally as strong, if not stronger. Winds will shift, and then you're going to get another storm surge moving in. Now let's go live to the National Hurricane Center with Dr. Michael Brennan. Michael, we are looking at what could be a possible devastating event for the lower Keys. Have you heard anything, any big wind gusts? What are they looking at right now?
The last report I saw had a wind gust of 89 miles per hour at the Key West National Weather Service office right here, and that's to the west of that really intense northern eye wall that went through the rest of the lower Keys. So I'm imagining the winds in here were much stronger in here where you see the reds and the yellows, and those winds are, that northern eye wall is just beginning to move off the northern part of the Keys there, and so we're expecting the eye to make landfall here soon, and then move on off into the waters to the southwest of the Florida Peninsula. But that storm surge is going to be peaking about now, especially on the right side of where Irma's making landfall, at 5 to 10 feet of inundation. And then, as you just talked about, on the west side, Key West is likely going to see the storm surge peak after the eye goes past it to the east. So from the Gulf side will be where they're going to see most of their water.
Dr. Michael Brennan, as the eye moves in and everything quiets down, how there's going to be a false sense of security? How long is that false sense of security going to last for until they get the backside?
Well, the eye could certainly linger over the Keys here for an hour or two. It's sort of wobbling around. It's not moving that quickly, about 8 miles an hour. Plus, the eye itself is sort of broad, so it's not a real tightly defined eye at the moment. And the south side of it's rather weak, so there may be a prolonged period where the winds aren't so strong. There's not going to be a lot of rain, but eventually those winds will pick back up on the south side, and you certainly don't want people venturing out. Even if the winds die off, there's going to be a lot of storm surge around. The winds could pick up again very quickly, unexpectedly. You don't want to be outside until the tropical storm force winds subside, which is probably going to be much later today or tonight.
Heavy rain across the Upper Keys, Miami-Dade, and Broward counties. There's now a flood warning until 8:30 p.m. for northern Broward. Is that going to be the pattern now, the rest of the day for Dade and Broward, just loaded with moisture and rain? To early Monday, those are winds in excess of 39 miles per hour. For Miami-Dade, more of the same. Those 39-plus mile-per-hour winds are going to stick around through Monday. Now, there's still a chance for hurricane-force winds here for us in Broward County, mostly inland locations, noon to late afternoon. And by inland, I mean anything west of I-95. Miami-Dade from 8 a.m. till late afternoon, still the potential for some wind gusts up to 74 miles per hour. And in this case, it would be anything west of I-95 and US 1. A weather watch, a tornado watch, remains in effect at least until noon. And I wouldn't be surprised if this gets extended over the next, well, maybe through 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So landfall is imminent right across the lower Florida Keys at any time. It will then try to make its way just offshore Naples and Fort Myers as a Category 4. Category 3 as it nears Naples. It'll move, going to be a little difficult for us now to know exactly how strong the system is as it makes landfall. That is the very latest. Back to you.
Okay, Phil, thanks so much.
Let's check in with Christine Cruz at the news desk now. She has some video for us and some information on several bits of news. Christine?
Yeah, Belkis and Craig, let's start with some video from Key West. You know, something that hadn't listened to officials. I mean, look how terrible that is. They put those curfews in effect for a reason. They tell people to stay at home for a very good reason. We have some driving video out of Miami to show you as well. This is North Bay Village. This is really close to where our station. We are actually in North Bay Village. And look at that. Do you see that in the back there? A lot of power outages going on throughout Dade, throughout Broward, throughout Palm Beach. And what a huge concern that is for the residents. You know, not only do you lose power, but when you see these little explosions taking place, you know, the transformers blowing, it is not a good thing. And here's some more driving video. Once again, I do want to reiterate, Craig and Belkis, what we've been telling people throughout the last couple of days, and that is, you know, people start to get curious. They start to want to venture out, to look at things, to see what's going on. This is not the time to do that. This is basically for anyone and everyone who works here at Channel 7. This is our drive either to or from work, and we're just showing you those sheets of rain. Look at that. And this video was taken when the tornado warning was in effect for this area, that encompassed this area. And there you go. That's our station there to the right. So, you know, the conditions very close to home for us are really bad right now, and they have been throughout the morning. They're only going to deteriorate. You know, if you're listening to us, maybe a lot of you don't have the luxury right now with all those power outages of watching. Well, if you're listening, listen to these words very carefully. Do not go outside. Stay at home. We know a lot of you are without power already, but the conditions are just not safe. Miami-Dade, about 456,000 people without power. In Broward, that number, 182,150. In Palm Beach, it's 103,900, and well, the entire chain of the Keys without power. As we get more video, we'll bring it to you. Belkis and Craig, back to you.